Are you the person that everyone tuts and rolls their eyes at on a cruise? When you put thousands of people together in a confined space for a week or two, they're bound to annoy each other. But if you'd rather not get on everyone's nerves, here's a list of behaviours that you might want to avoid on your next cruise. Now, quick note, these are not just my personal pet peeves. I polled 50,000 cruisers on the Cruise Mummy Facebook page, and this list is based on the comments that came up the most often. So let's dive in. Number 1, sunbed hogging. Oof. According to cruisers on Facebook, the most annoying thing that you can do on a cruise is to claim sun loungers early in the morning by placing towels on them, then disappear for hours. It drives everyone crazy. Doing this simply prevents other people from sitting down, which is especially frustrating on sunny sea days when people really do want to be outdoors. I'm not sure why anyone does this. Maybe they're used to all-inclusive resorts where there are enough sunbeds for everyone, and maybe they feel that the early risers are just entitled to the spots closest to the pool. But on a cruise ship, there are definitely a lot more people than sunbeds, and there are times when you can't find a single place to sit down that's not already got a towel on it. Some cruise lines like Royal Caribbean and Marella have started introducing systems where crew members will put a card on any unattended beds and then remove belongings after 30 minutes. We can only hope that more follow suit to put an end to the sunbed hogging behaviour once and for all. Number 2, being rude to the crew. Several comments from my Facebook page highlight how upsetting it is to witness other passengers being rude or dismissive to cruise staff. We all know that crew members work such long hours to ensure that everyone has a nice time, and disrespect towards them can sour the atmosphere for everyone. Manners really do cost nothing, and there's no excuse for people clicking the fingers at people or speaking down to them. Number 3 is poor elevator etiquette. When it comes to sharing lifts, there are lots of ways that cruisers annoy each other. And the most irritating things that people do include rushing into the lifts before letting people exit, or pushing in front of others who've been waiting longer. People who aren't able to move as quickly, and anyone with a pushchair or any kind of mobility aid, should really be given priority when the lift arrives, but not everyone thinks about that. Another point of debate is how many people you should have inside each lift. So there's a sign inside the elevator that tells you it's usually 16, but sometimes it's as many as 20. I've often seen cruisers get really annoyed when they feel like there's too many people in the lift and then more get in, even if it's well below the recommended limit. Another pet peeve mentioned is when people hit the close doors button 3 nanoseconds before getting into the lift, and you're waiting to get in and then the door closes before you can even react to the lift arrival. That is annoying. The people guilty of that probably are the same ones who think the lift is full because there's already 6 people in it and they like to spread out. Number 4, misbehaving in the buffet. The buffet is another place where cruisers act in all sorts of ways that are likely to annoy their fellow passengers. Cutting in line is a common complaint, but to be honest, I can see why some people do it sometimes. If you just need to grab some extra baked beans for your kid, having to join a really long line that snakes past the sausages and eggs that you don't want isn't always practical. And if you're standing there in front of the sausages that you don't want, you're blocking the access for someone who just wants to nip in and grab a sausage. Sometimes I think that British people can be far too keen to form a queue, and it actually makes everything take longer. Piling plates high only to waste food is also something that really annoys cruisers. On some cruise ships, the crew members serve the food for you in the buffet. And in my experience, you have to be really insistent so that you don't end up with too much of one item on your plate. They don't know that you only want 1 slice of watermelon unless you tell them. So you might end up with a plate full of it and no space for the rest of your fruit. Many people agree that people who walk into the buffet without washing their hands are amongst the most annoying on the ship. And I think so too. They're putting everyone's health at risk, and that's just not okay. It's even worse to see people sneezing into their hands or using their fingers to grab the food instead of the utensils. Number 5 is smoking in non-smoking areas. Smoking on balconies and other non-designated areas not only breaks ship's rules, but it can ruin the experience for passengers who are sensitive to smoke or have health concerns like asthma. Plus, it's a fire hazard. Vaping was also mentioned. Some cruisers do seem to think that they can just have a quick puff of the vape wherever they like, but it doesn't go unnoticed by the other guests. Number 6 on the list is unsupervised children. Several cruisers commented that they found noisy kids running amok to be the most annoying things they've witnessed at sea. Kids of all ages were mentioned, from crying babies to mischievous teenagers who were seen throwing food around or knocking on doors and running away. A few cruisers also mentioned being annoyed by people who book onto a family ship during the school holidays and then complain about there being kids there. Don't forget, there is a very simple solution for anyone who gets annoyed by the presence of children. Book an adults-only cruise. Number 7 is loud and disruptive behaviour. So whether it's talking loudly in hallways late at night, drunken behaviour, or loud conversations in the dining areas, excessive noise is a common gripe amongst passengers who look for relaxation. One person mentioned people who scrape the sunbeds along the floor when some are snoozing while sunbathing. So it seems that you don't actually need to be that loud to annoy someone on a cruise. Number 8 is spending too long in the hot tubs. So dominating the hot tubs for extended periods, especially when they're crowded, frustrates passengers who would also like a turn to relax. Sometimes you'll even see people standing next to the hot tub waiting for a space, and yet people who've been soaking for an hour or more simply ignore them. The rules on whether children are allowed in hot tubs varies depending on the cruise, but the presence of kids in jacuzzis is something that many people do find annoying, especially if they're splashing or kicking people. With so many people sharing a ship, it's only natural that some will get annoyed by the behaviours of others. So whatever you do, whether it's sitting in a chair with a nice view and falling asleep, or kissing your partner in the pub, someone will probably be annoyed by it. There's no need to tread on eggshells though, just do your best to be polite and considerate. That's all we can do, right? Now at least you're aware of the habits that other people find the most annoying, so you can try your best to avoid those and the ocean will be a happier place.